Hello chefs, I'm Chef Arun and today we'll be studying sugar as one of the most important ingredients used in bakery. The learning objectives of today's session is the various sources of sugar, types of sugar available and their uses in the baking industry, and the various substitutes available in the form of artificial sweeteners. Let's go into the understanding of the basic facts of sugar. It adds to the sweet element in food. Each grain of sugar provides us with 4 kilocalories and hence is a good source of energy. Sugar forms a base for a wide range of desserts. Also, the various forms of sugar form a base for a variety of cake decorations, right from basic icings to intricate designs and figurines. The famous caramel, which was invented accidentally, carries its own nutty sweet flavor and forms a base to the famous caramel custard. And the various temperatures applied makes available a range of candies and toffees. Moving on to the history of sugar, there are records of knowledge of sugar among the ancient Greeks and Romans, but only as an important medicine and not as food. The Greek physician Disocrates in the first century wrote, "There is a kind of coalesced honey called saccharon, that is sugar, found in the reeds of India, and erimonon, Arabia, that is Yemen. It was similar in consistency to salt and brittle enough to be broken between the teeth like salt. It is good dissolved in water for the intestines and stomach and can be taken as a drink to help relieve a painful bladder and kidneys." Pliny the Elder, a first century Roman, also described sugar as medicinal. So now we can trace that it is something as old as the first century that humankind knew sugar. Moving on to the major sources of sugar. The first one in that is sugarcane. Sugarcane, where the juice is refined to obtain sugar, similar to that is the beetroot, known as chukandar or shakrakan, is also a major source of sugar and follows the same refining process as sugarcane. Honey is the first natural sweetener known to mankind and is a major source, and so are fruits and fruit juices, with its natural properties as to the nutritive value and as a substitute to sugar in various preparations. Let's move on into the natural sources of sugar. First one is fructose, which is found in fruits and honey; galactose, found in milk and dairy products; glucose, found in honey, fruits, and vegetables; lactose, found in milk made from glucose and galactose; maltose, found in barley; sucrose, made up of glucose and fructose and found in plants; xylose, found in wood or straw. Just a quick identification of these natural sources of sugar. Wherever we find a single element like fructose, which is one single cell found into the fruits and honey, forms a monosaccharide. Where an example like lactose, where it is made of glucose and galactose, where two elements are added, it turns to be a disaccharide. The types of sugar and its uses. The first obvious one that we know is the grain sugar, which is crystalline in nature. Also is hygroscopic, which in simple terms means affinity for water, which holds water. And this basic property of holding water keeps the product soft and moist for a very long time, thus improving the shelf life of a product. The next is castor sugar. Castor sugar is identified by the fine crystals that is known to us. It dissolves faster and hence helps in aeration of a product. Aeration over here means the creaming property of fat and sugar together, which holds in a lot of air, thus making the product a little more spongier. The next one is powder sugar or pulverized sugar. Good aeration and dissolving properties is available to us, and especially during the creaming process. It is suitable for making of cakes, cookies, and candies, but not suitable for icings. A simple reason over here why is it not suitable? Because of the coarse texture of the sugar grains present into it. The next one is the icing sugar, but the name itself says which is suitable for icings. It is fine in texture, and the fine texture is achieved by passing it through fine sieves to obtain the fine texture. Also, cornstarch is added, which helps in avoiding lump formation in the icing sugar. The purpose of icing sugar is various icings, obviously, but the major one is fondant. Also, various desserts can be dusted to give a frosted effect with the help of icing sugar. The next one is Demerara. The large sparkling golden crystals an identification of the Demerara sugar used for crumbles and biscuits. The next one is the Muscovado sugar. Unrefined cane sugar, which contains natural molasses, which has a taste similar to a toffee and most suitable for cookies, cakes, and candies. The next one known is the palm sugar. It is high in minerals and is an antioxidant property. It is a substitute for grain or brown sugar. But obviously, when you're substituting something, you need to do a lot of trials to understand whether you get the end product which is similar to the earlier sweetener that you've used. Jaggery, more nutritious compared to sugar, contains vitamin C, and as suggested earlier, it needs a proper recipe balancing before you finalize on the recipe. Moving on, the next one is the golden syrup. It is achieved as a byproduct of sugar refining, used to make cookies, Rice Krispies, caramel snacks, nutritional bars. It is a common ingredient for chocolates, fudges, cakes, and biscuits, and also a major ingredient in making of brandy snaps. Treacle, used to give a rich caramel flavor to a sticky toffee pudding, ginger cakes, fruit cakes, and sweets. Also a byproduct of the sugar refining. The next one is molasses, used in baking and candy making, and also a major base product for making of rum. Now, it is said that treacle and molasses are distant cousins. Why is it said so? Molasses is an Indian origin, whereas treacle is a British origin. The clear identification is the color difference between both and is used in bakery very extensively. Next one is honey. As we know, it is collected by the bees as nectar and into the hives and then collected as honey. It is used with cinnamon, herbs, spices, or other flavors. Honey helps bring out the taste and aroma of all the products. Artificial sweeteners. As health is a major concern, especially with bakery products, bakers have started using artificial sweeteners. These artificial sweeteners are compared to sugar, which is 99.9% sucrose. The first one under this is saccharin, which is 300 times sweeter than sugar and will leave a metallic aftertaste, thus not suitable for bakery. Aspartame, 200 times sweeter than sugar, not for baking as it loses sweetness in high heat and may work good for custards and puddings. Acesulfame potassium, 200 times sweeter than sugar, can be used in baking but will yield a slight bitter taste, so can be used for breads and cookies. Neotium, which is 8,000 times sweeter than sugar, developed to be used specially for baking as the sweetness holds up to the high heat with no metallic or bitter aftertaste. Continuing, the next one is stevia, 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar, heat stable, so can be used for baking. However, these sugar do not caramelize or crystallize, so you will not get the browning effect desired in certain baked goods. So you need to be careful when you're using stevia. If you need a caramelized effect, you should avoid using stevia. Sucralose, which is 600 times sweeter than sugar. The majority of ingested sucralose is not broken down by the body, so it is non calorific. So, ideally, if you are giving it to a diabetic patient, which is not allowed or not suggested. Erythritol, 150 times sweeter than sugar, good for baking with no aftertaste, has fewer calories than sugar, but is not a zero calorie like many other artificial sweeteners. So, one thing to understand over here, when we read it is 200 or 300 times sweeter to sugar, one needs to understand that if I have to substitute it with regular grain sugar, I need to understand how much of replacement would be done in a recipe to use these artificial sweeteners. Also, a lot of trial and calculations need to be done before finalizing the recipe. Thank you. For queries and suggestions, kindly mail on arunSherkar14@gmail.com. Also, find the quiz link in the description. Please attend. Thank you.